Acacia is graphing the exponential function y equals 2 times 8 to the power of x, but needs to identify the growth or decay rate first. We need to figure out if the graph is moving up or down before we can actually graph it. So we want to calculate what the growth or decay rate of the function is. So let's go ahead and break down the function. Y equals 2 times 8 to the power of x. Well, you have two parts here, right? You have the 2 and the 8. The x is your variable. That'll tell you how far in time or how many of something's happening. That's your variable. But the two other pieces are what's important. The 2 is actually your starting value, or your initial value is another way to call it. And that happens when x equals 0. This part becomes 1. The 8 to the power of 0 just becomes 1. So really it's 2 times 1, and your starting value holds true when x equals 0. That's one way to think about it. The other number, the 8, comes into play when the x is any number except 0. So let's say x was 1. Well, if x was 1, then 8 to the power of 1 is 8, and you'd end up with 2 times 8. And this is increasing your starting value by a factor of 8. It's multiplying by 8, which becomes 16. So this is actually what we call the growth rate, okay, the growth factor. So in this case, 8 would be your growth factor.